This is a day unlike any other day of the year. It's a celebration of sorts, but it's not the way we usually think of celebration, because on this day we do pause and we do remember what Jesus did on behalf of all human beings in paying the price for our sin with his own life. Friends, I'm D.A. Bennett, senior pastor here at St. Andrew's Community United Methodist Church, along with our associate and my good friend, Pastor Stephanie Greenwald, and we're so glad that you're joining us for tonight's Good Friday service where we're doing Stations of the Cross. Some of you will remember that last year we did Stations of the Cross, and it's something new to some people because it's not the kind of service we usually experience. But some of you also will remember the old hymn that you used to sing, "Were You There? Were you there when they crucified my Lord?" And that's what Stations of the Cross is about. It's to help us get in touch once more and remember once again what it was like on that day that Jesus was crucified. In between the different readings we have on the stations tonight, there will be prayers, and we just invite you, wherever you're watching this, to say the prayers with us, unless, of course, you're watching this while you're in your car, and we do ask that you would keep your eyes on the road at that point. But friends, let's begin. Pastor Stephanie is going to lead us in a prayer.
Let's join together. God of power and mercy, in love you sent your Son, that we might be cleansed of sin and live with you forever. Bless us as we gather to reflect on his suffering and death, that we may learn from his example the way we should go. We ask this through that same Christ, our Lord. Amen.
The first station, Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane.
Then Jesus came with them to a place called Gethsemane, and he said to his disciples, "Sit here while I go over there and pray." He took along Peter and the two sons of Zebedee and began to feel sorrow and distress. Then he said to them, "My soul is sorrowful, even to death. Remain here and keep watch with me." He advanced a little and fell prostrate in prayer, saying, "My Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me. Yet not as I will, but as you will." When he returned to his disciples, he found them asleep. He said to Peter, "So you could not keep watch with me for 1 hour? Watch and pray that you may not undergo the test. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak." Lord, grant us your strength and wisdom, that we may seek to follow your will in all things.
The second station, Jesus, betrayed by Judas, is arrested. Then while Jesus was still speaking, Judas, one of the 12, arrived, accompanied by a crowd with swords and clubs, who had come from the chief priest, the scribes, and the elders. His betrayer had arranged a signal with them, saying, "The man I shall kiss is the one. Arrest him and lead him away securely." He came and immediately went over to him and said, "Rabbi," and he kissed him. At this, they laid their hands on him and arrested Jesus. Lord, grant us the courage of our convictions, that our lives may faithfully reflect the good news you bring. The third station, Jesus is condemned by the Sanhedrin.
When day came, the council of elders of the people met, both chief priests and scribes, and they brought him before their Sanhedrin. They said, "If you are the Messiah, tell us." But he replied to them, "If I tell you, you will not believe, and if I question, you will not respond. But from this time on, the Son of Man will be seated at the right hand of the power of God." They all asked, "Are you then the Son of God?" He replied to them, "You say that I am." Then they said, "What further need have we for testimony? We have heard it from his own mouth."
Lord, grant us your sense of righteousness, that we may never cease to work to bring about the justice of the kingdom that you promised. The fourth station, Jesus is denied by Peter. Now Peter was sitting outside in the courtyard. One of the maids came over to him and said, "You too were with Jesus, the Galilean." But he denied it in front of everyone, saying, "I do not know what you are talking about." As he went out to the gate, another girl saw him and said to those who were there, "This man was with Jesus the Nazarene." Again, Peter denied it with an oath, "I do not know the man." A little later, the bystanders came over and said to Peter, "Surely you two are one of them. Even your speech gives you away." At that he began to curse and to swear, "I do not know the man." And immediately a cock crowed. Then Peter remembered the word that Jesus had spoken, "Before the cock crows, you will deny me 3 times." Peter went out and began to weep bitterly. Lord, grant us the gift of honesty, that we may not fear to speak the truth, even when difficult. The fifth station, Jesus is judged by Pilate.
The chief priests with the elders and the scribes, that is, the whole Sanhedrin, held a council. They bound Jesus, led him away, and handed him over to Pilate. Pilate questioned him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" He said to him in reply, "You say so." The chief priests accused him of many things. Again, Pilate questioned him, "Have you no answer? See how many things they accuse you of." Jesus gave him no further answer, so that Pilate was amazed. Pilate, wishing to satisfy the crowd, released Barabbas and handed Jesus over to be crucified.
Lord, grant us discernment, that we may see as you see, not as the world sees. The sixth station, Jesus is scourged and crowned with thorns. Then Pilate took Jesus and had him scourged. And the soldiers wove a crown out of thorns and placed it on his head, and clothed him in a purple cloak. And they came to him and said, "Hail, King of the Jews!" And they struck him repeatedly. Lord, grant us patience in times of suffering, that we may offer our lives as a sacrifice of praise. The seventh station, Jesus bears the cross.
When the chief priests and the guards saw Jesus, they cried out, "Crucify him! Crucify him!" Pilate said to them, "Take him yourselves and crucify him. I find no guilt in him." They cried out, "Take him away! Take him away and crucify him!" Pilate said to them, "Shall I crucify your king?" The chief priests answered, "We have no king but Caesar." Then he handed him over to them to be crucified. So they took Jesus, and carrying the cross himself, he went out to what is called the place of the skull, in Hebrew, Golgotha.
Lord, grant us strength and purpose, that we may faithfully bear our crosses each day. The eighth station. Jesus is helped by Simon of Cyrene to carry the cross. They pressed into service a passerby, Simon, a Cyrenian, who was coming in from the country, the father of Alexander and Rufus, to carry Jesus' cross. Lord, grant us willing spirits, that we may be instruments on earth. The ninth station. Jesus meets the women of Jerusalem.
A large crowd of people followed Jesus, including many women who mourned and lamented him. Jesus turned to them and said, "Daughters of Jerusalem, do not weep for me. Weep instead for yourselves and for your children, for indeed the days are coming when people will say, 'Blessed are the barren, the wombs that never bore, and the breasts that never nursed.' At that time, people will say to the mountains, 'Fall upon us,' and to the hills, 'Cover us.' For if these things are done when the wood is green, what will happen when it is dry?"
Lord, grant us gentle spirits, that we may comfort those who mourn. The 10th station. Jesus is crucified. When they came to the place called the Skull, they crucified him and the criminals there, one on his right, the other on his left. Then Jesus said, "Father, forgive them. They know not what they do." Lord, grant us merciful hearts, that we may bring your reconciliation and forgiveness to all. The 11th station. Jesus promises his kingdom to the good thief.
Now one of the criminals hanging there reviled Jesus, saying, "Are you not the Messiah? Save yourself and us." The other, however, rebuking him, said in reply, "Have you no fear of God? For you are subject to the same condemnation, and indeed, we have been condemned justly, for the sentence we received corresponds to our crimes. But this man has done nothing criminal." Then he said, "Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom." Jesus replied to him, "I say, today you will be with me in paradise." Lord, grant us perseverance, that we may never stop seeking you. The 12th station. Jesus speaks to his mother and the disciple. Standing by the cross of Jesus were his mother and his mother's sister, Mary, the wife of Clopas, and Mary of Magdala. When Jesus saw his mother and the disciple there whom he loved, he said to his mother, "Woman, behold your son." Then he said to the disciple, "Behold your mother." And from that hour, the disciple took her into his home. Lord, grant us constancy, that we may be willing to stand by those in need.
13th station, Jesus dies on the cross.
It was now about noon, and darkness came over the whole land until 3 p.m. because of an eclipse of the sun. Then the veil of the temple was torn down the middle. Jesus cried out in a loud voice, "Father, into your hands I commend my spirit." And when he had said this, he breathed his last.
Lord, grant us trust in you, that when our time on earth is ended, our spirits may come to you without delay. The 14th station, Jesus is placed in the tomb. When it was evening, there came a rich man from Arimathea named Joseph, who was himself a disciple of Jesus. He went to Pilate and asked for the body of Jesus. Then Pilate ordered it to be handed over. Taking the body, Joseph wrapped it in clean linen and laid it in his new tomb that he had hewn in the rock. Then he rolled a huge stone across the entrance to the tomb and departed.
What wondrous love is this, O my soul, O my soul? What wondrous love is this, O my soul? What wondrous love is this that caused the Lord of bliss to bear the dreadful curse for my soul, to bear the dreadful curse for my soul. What wondrous love is this, O my soul, O my soul? What wondrous love is this, O my soul? What wondrous love is this that caused the Lord of life to bear the dreadful curse for my soul, to bear the dreadful